Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second virtual installment of our Icon series here in 2020. My name is John Konarski, and I'm publisher of In Business magazine. Normally, we'd be meeting you in person for this event series, but like many of you and your businesses, we've had to adapt here during this crazy 2020 to bring you this Icons event in a virtual environment. Unfortunately, we can't provide you with a hot breakfast, and we can't do so in the elegant environment of the Madison Concourse Hotel. But we can continue to provide you with the great content that you've come to expect with this Icon series, and we're thrilled to get that opportunity to do so here again today. This quarterly series was formed to showcase local iconic companies, organizations, and people influencing the business landscape. We've always had our speakers come in and share with us the valuable lessons they've learned over the years leading these companies, as well as the current challenges and opportunities that they're facing. And judging by the phenomenal turnout that we are expecting for this virtual event this morning, I would say that there's quite a bit of interest in our speaker here today and the company that he has led to some astonishing growth over the past 10 plus years. That company, of course, is Exact Sciences, and we are absolutely thrilled this morning to have Chairman, President, and CEO Kevin Conroy joining us for this Icons program. This is a company that has been at the forefront of the fight against colon cancer, and not surprisingly has now also joined the fight against COVID-19 into their entry into the testing market. We're going to turn things over to Kevin here in just a few minutes, as I know that he has plenty to share with us. But before we do, I'd like to thank our sponsors of this year's Icon series that make this possible here today. Our presenting sponsor is Wps Health Solutions. For nearly 75 years, Wps Health Solutions has been a leader in the insurance industry and a nationally regarded health benefits administrator for Medicare and active duty and retired military personnel and their families. Today, I'd like to welcome in Scott Kowalski, Executive VP of Marketing and Communications for Wps Health Solutions, to share a brief message on behalf of WPS.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Kowalski, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Marketing and Corporate Communications at WPS Health Solutions. WPS is proud to be sponsoring today's Icons in Business presentation. Today, we'll hear from my friend Kevin Conroy, the CEO and Chairman of the Board at Exact Sciences. We certainly all had our hands full adjusting our businesses in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, but maybe Kevin more than most. Exact Sciences has pivoted to focus on processing COVID-19 tests, and I'm sure Kevin will talk about that today in his remarks. WPS Health Solutions has had to make a pivot of its own because of our contracts with the government to administer Medicare benefits and military health benefits. We are classified as an essential business and have been from the beginning. Because of that, we are ahead of the curve in reacting to the pandemic, shifting our employees to remote work before the governor's safer at home order. Thanks to our planning, investment in technology, training, and the dedication of our staff, we went from approximately 35% of our workforce working from home to 93% in just 2 short weeks. We did that with no drop-off in productivity or quality of our work. We've also made sure to consider the human effect of the pandemic. We gave away more than 10,000 free face coverings to our customers and employees. We have kept our employees engaged by having them share stories of gratitude and how they are reacting and responding to the pandemic. Our president, Mike Hammerlich, has written weekly messages sharing his personal experiences with our entire team. And we've created a special page on our website to share information on COVID-19. If you'd like to check it out, you can find it at wps.health/COVID-19. I hope you enjoyed today's webinar and look forward to the time we can get back together in person. If you'd like to hear more about WPS or our COVID-19 response, or if you'd like one of those cool WPS face coverings, shoot me an email at scott.kowalski@wpsic.com. Thank you, and welcome again, Kevin.
Thank you, Scott, and to the WPS Health Solutions team. I'd also like to acknowledge our premier sponsors of this year's Icons event series. Our first premier sponsor is Action Coach. If you're a business owner or leader who needs to change your business model right now to survive and flourish long term, and wants a fast plan to see the path forward with economic opportunities, then Action Coach of Wisconsin can work with you to get clear, get out of overwhelm, and back to business. Our second premier sponsor is Baker Tilly, a leading advisory, tax, and assurance firm dedicated to building long-lasting relationships and helping you win now and anticipate tomorrow. And finally, our third premier sponsor is the Madison Concourse Hotel. This is Madison's premier hotel located in the heart of downtown, and we do hope to be back doing these Icons events in their facility in the very near future. But a very special thank you to all of our sponsors for their flexibility at this time as we had to pivot to do this virtual format here in 2020. Okay, well, it's time to start our program here today and introduce our Icon speaker, Kevin Conroy, again, Chairman, President, and CEO of Exact Sciences. Over the past decade, Kevin has transformed Exact Sciences from a small biotechnology firm into one of the world's premier cancer diagnostics companies. He has led Exact Sciences through the development, clinical trial, regulatory approval, and commercialization of its non-invasive colorectal cancer screening test, Cologuard. This culminated with Cologuard becoming the first medical device to receive FDA approval and national Medicare coverage simultaneously. Since 2014, millions of Americans have used Cologuard to screen for colorectal cancer, the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States. In 2019, Exact Sciences led the $2.8 billion acquisition of Genomic Health Incorporated, uniting two of the industry's strongest brands, Cologuard and Oncotype DX. The global company is working to improve screening, early detection, and treatment guidance throughout the cancer continuum. And as I mentioned earlier, to no surprise, Exact Sciences has entered into the global fight against COVID-19 by entering into the testing efforts. Kevin is a native of Flint, Michigan, earning his BS in electrical engineering from Michigan State University and a graduate of the University of Michigan Law School. Before we turn things over to Kevin, I do want to quickly mention, if you have questions during the presentation, we'd like to encourage you to add them to the chat box. We'll be moderating them for a live Q&A following Kevin's presentation. So submit them there, and we'll look forward to that at the conclusion of our program here this morning. With that said, it is my privilege to now turn things over to our speaker here this morning, Kevin Conroy.
Thank you very much for having me today. It's a real pleasure to talk about how Exact Sciences is responding to the fight against COVID-19 and continuing our fight against cancer. At Exact Sciences, we strive to change lives through early detection of cancer and smarter, better answers that guide the right treatment for the right patient. We have grown as a company since we relocated to Madison, Wisconsin 11 years ago. And we're really proud of the progress that we have made in our fight against cancer. This is led by an amazing team of scientists all around the country, in California, in Madison, in Phoenix, in Salt Lake, in San Diego. We believe that we have the best molecular diagnostic scientists anywhere in the world, and it is helping us build tests of the future that will change the way that cancer is diagnosed. Our experienced teams span from IT to clinical affairs and regulatory and quality and HR and finance. This gives us an incredible infrastructure with over 100 people outside of the U.S. We are now the largest specialized advanced diagnostic company focused on cancer in the world. With this incredible team of people, we believe that we can make a meaningful impact on how cancer is detected and how it is treated. Our two leading brands include Cologuard and Oncotype DX. Cologuard is an advanced, non-invasive way to screen for colon cancer, which is the #2 cancer killer in the U.S. and the #3 cancer killer globally. Oncotype DX includes tests for prostate cancer and breast cancer. It is recognized as the leading test to help patients with early-stage breast cancer whether chemotherapy is right for them. Most of the time with early-stage breast cancer, chemotherapy provides no benefit. And this is a test that helps tell patients whether they're likely to benefit from chemotherapy, and also what the likelihood of recurrence of the breast cancer is. And this information changes the course of treatment. For prostate cancer, there's a similar test that helps guide treatment for men with intermediate grade prostate cancer and low-grade prostate cancer. Is aggressive treatment right for them or not? These are really important questions to ask, and these tools give us answers that previously were never available. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in the world. In the U.S., if you're under the age of 85, cancer is the #1 cause of death. And you can see here that this is a huge impact, almost 10 million deaths a year globally, and 600,000 deaths a year in the U.S. This is even bigger, in fact, significantly bigger than the pandemic that we're facing. And hopefully, we can make the case as a broad global community to attack the root causes of cancer mortality and help to provide solutions for earlier detection and better treatment. We believe that is achievable with advanced tools. And what you see here are all of the different cancers that we are working with our partners like the Mayo Clinic and the University of Wisconsin Health System in doing extensive research to help develop tests that will help detect these cancers earlier. One of the tests that we have been working on is the idea of a multi-cancer screening test, one that would help detect a range of cancers through a simple blood draw. We believe that is technically possible, and it is morally required that we press forward to help develop such a test, as well as tests that help guide the treatment for each of these cancers. Our 10-year partnership with the Mayo Clinic helps fuel us to be able to achieve these goals long term. Now, what are we doing in the world of COVID? When COVID first appeared on the horizon, we sat down as a team and said, what is important for us as we think about a potential global pandemic for a disease that the world knew very little about? And what we decided to do was to bring up a test for our own employees to make sure that we could continue to serve our customers and to take care of each other and make sure that as a team we were safe. And I'm really proud of the effort that this team brought forward to bring up COVID testing. And the story around it is pretty amazing. It started with a phone call to Secretary Andrea Palm, offering our help to help the state provide greater testing in the state of Wisconsin. And Secretary Palm and Governor Evers just welcomed the support that we offered. And together, we thought through how we could bring up a test to add to the capacity in Wisconsin. And across the country. And within a 1-month period of time from that very first conversation, we were able to secure emergency FDA approval on a test that we developed using components from Promega and in partnership with Epic. By doing so, we were able to develop the test kit, the collection device, which we provide to the state, and the state then provides to collection sites all around the state, county and local health departments, community test sites, fueled by 150 National Guard projects where they go into the community and help collect specimens from people who think they might have COVID. And then also our health system partners, hospitals and health system networks all across the state sprung into action. By doing so, they were then able to provide those specimens back to our lab, and we were able, through this electronic connection that Epic helped install, provide results back to the person who needed that result. in doing so, it has had a huge impact. And I want to make a special call out to American Family Insurance and CUNA Mutual Group. Their CEOs just provided incredible support, project management for this incredibly complex project, and they did it. They offered their help immediately and enthusiastically, and they have played a role in helping us provide additional testing in the state of Wisconsin. We know how important the fight against COVID is. During this time, it's having an impact on our fight against cancer, and this is a topic that is worthy of discussion. What we're seeing today is a screening deficit. So fewer people are going in to get screened with regular mammograms, colon cancer screenings, and also cervical cancer screenings. And that deficit, which is a historically large deficit, even in that short March to June period, has led to a 74% decrease in the detection of cancer. It's not that all of a sudden there's less cancer in this country. The problem is we're not finding it. And so now cancer is spreading among people who otherwise would have been screened. And unless something happens very quickly, we will see a delayed diagnosis in 80,000 people. And that's growing every week. This, experts estimate, will lead to 10,000 deaths just due to the deficit in that March through June timeframe. It's imperative as a society that we increase our effort to get people screened for breast and cervical and colon cancer and prostate cancer. It's important, and a commitment to public health is critically important because prevention is a way to improve public health. We know that has been true throughout the years when you take a look at the impact on vaccinations and the focus of on eradicating globally infectious diseases. We know that before 1980, about 12 million people a year died from various infectious diseases. Today, that number has dropped to about 3 million. The world's health is getting better and people are living longer. We cannot stop our efforts. And right now, there's a pause, and it's having an impact that is probably larger than the COVID crisis. So we have two crises going on, and it's really important that policymakers coming out of this pandemic refocus on public health. We know that investments in health have a significant return. There's approximately a third of economic growth in advanced countries is attributable to improvement in health. We don't want to fall backwards. If we do, it impacts our economy. And we know that a dollar invested in public health typically returns about 3x. And the source of this is the McKinsey Global Institute, which really looks deeply at issues of investments in healthcare and education. And the return on a dollar invested in healthcare is very similar to a dollar invested in education. We can't forget that as we look to dealing with this pandemic, which has had a massive impact on our global economy. Estimates range between $9 and $33 trillion impacts to our economy. It's going to take time for us to work through this economic impact, and we need to do all that we can to stem the impact by taking safety precautions and measures such as wearing masks and doing things while we're in public to make sure that we slow the spread of this disease, while we are focused on also cancer prevention. I'm very proud to be a part of a team that wakes up every day focused on both of these fights. Thank you very much, and I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that tremendous program here today. So many amazing things happening right now at Exact Sciences, and we appreciate you sharing that with our audience here today. We're now here live with Kevin. As I promised earlier, he will be taking some questions that may have been submitted during the program this morning. So let me welcome back Kevin Conroy for the live Q&A.
John, I can't hear you. While you're getting that sorted out, I don't know if you can hear me, but thanks, John, to In Business. And Scott, thank you and WPS for being the lead sponsor of this event. And to the whole Madison business community, thank you for all that you do, because these are really challenging times for the business community, and your fight is our fight. The testing that we do hopefully helps people stay and work safely and to revive the Madison economy. It's really important to us at Exact Sciences that we support you.
How much room for growth do you think there is in the future, whether it's through Exact Sciences or others, for at-home diagnostic testing? How easily can you make it for people to test themselves for any number of illnesses?
Thanks for the question. I don't know if you could hear me before, but to In Business and John, thank you so much for having us today, having me on this. It's really an honor to be able to have this conversation. And Scott and WPS, thank you for your sponsorship. Mostly thanks to the Madison business community for the unbelievable challenges that you're facing and the perseverance with which the community is facing them. We at Exact Sciences want to be a part of keeping you and your employees safe so that you can maintain a vigorous economy in Dane County, which is a part of an incredibly important part of all of the challenges that we're facing as a society and as a local community today. So thanks. The question in terms of what is our vision for at-home testing? At-home testing is being fueled in part by the COVID crisis. There is an enormous investment in diagnostics being made today to be able to do a whole range of tests at home. You're seeing healthcare moving into that home setting, and you're seeing a ton of really positive results from that. If as a society we are going to continue to gain in terms of our national health, there has to be a focus on prevention. And that, whether it's cancer or whether it's a whole host of things, including diet and low blood pressure, and things that you can measure at home, and things that you can do remotely to change behavior and improve health. Diagnostics is the start of that process, whether it's for diabetes or whether it's for cancer. And that's why we developed Cologuard. And Cologuard, I think, really opened the eyes to healthcare professionals and also investors around the country that there is an opportunity to change the way prevention works from, in the case of colon cancer screening, an invasive day and a half long out of your life process that requires sedation and bowel prep, to a simple 5-minute test that you do in the privacy of your own home. The world is changing. We want to be a part of that change. Right now, we're seeking FDA clearance on an at-home COVID test, where any individual can actually just collect a sample in the privacy of their own home and send that back to us and get a rapid result. So the world is changing. We want to be a part of that change.
How do you separate and handle large, sometimes negative, swings in your stock price with continuing to focus on your mission and do what's right for your business?
Well, I've been CEO for 11 years, and one thing that has been consistent is swings in the stock price. That has occurred from the time that I started and the stock was at 80 cents. And as a leader, you just can't focus on day-to-day stock pricing. The market doesn't get things right every day. In the long term, it does. And our job is to do what is right for our company in the long term. And what I'm proud of is we have the right strategy, we have the right culture, we believe we have the best products in our space, and we have the best research and development team bringing new products to patients, like the liver cancer test, a blood-based liver cancer test that we expect to bring to physicians and patients next year. So over the long haul, we think that our team always has been able to show that we deliver on what we promise. And I think if you do that over the long term, investors are rewarded for that.
There has been criticism that the federal government has not mobilized efforts to combat COVID-19. In comparison, has or did the federal government mobilize efforts to fight colon or lung cancer or heart disease? How can the federal government's responses be compared, if at all?
The federal government over time has been the difference maker in terms of colon cancer screening. So if you go back 25 years, there was a push to get colon cancer screening paid for by Medicare. Previous to that, it was actually 22 years ago in 1998, that screening was paid for by Medicare. Under the Medicare statute, surprisingly, the only way to pay for preventative medicine is to have Congress modify the statute to allow for that specific prevention. It is mainly a service in which you pay for sick people. For colon cancer, Congress amended the Medicare Act and allowed for screening of people who were healthy. And that was a big change. And because of that, we have seen mortality go from 70,000-ish deaths per year down to 50,000 deaths. And then what happened is the mortality leveled off because only about half the population is willing to get a colonoscopy. And so our goal with Cologuard is to make sure that we get the rest of the population screened. Medicare led the way, commercial insurers followed around the country. And we think this is important now as we look at technologies that will enable multi-cancer screening. The technology is in clinical trials today, proof of concept, to be able to do one blood draw and detect 10 or even 15 different cancers. And we have an intense R&D program to bring that test to life. To do that, it requires that Medicare agree eventually to pay for that test. Otherwise, people simply won't get it. And prevention is key. Again, cancer is the #1 killer of all Americans 85 and under. So we are committed to partnering with the government to make sure that we can make our case and the industry can make its case for this form of prevention.
Can you comment on the progress relative to making sampling easier or quicker, which includes results for several types of cancer, for example, blood versus stool samples?
Yeah, well, an at-home stool test is about as easy as you can get. The problem with a blood draw can be really easy. The problem is that not everybody is willing to get a blood draw. And it requires the step of actually leaving your house, getting into a car, driving to a facility where you can have your blood drawn. That may be, though, for a pan-cancer screening test, the best approach, because it sure is a whole lot easier than a MRI or PET scan, and most likely it's more accurate. It's certainly less expensive than one of those approaches. So that's why we are developing an array of testing sample types, whether it's blood, whether it's stool, whether it's sputum, or other sample types, so that we bring the right technology to solve a problem and ultimately lead to early detection. And I'll just make a note here. Early detection is so important because for colon cancer, as an example, if you're detected early, stage 1 or 2, about 90% of people, 9 out of 10 people survive. If colon cancer is detected stage 4, 1 out of 10 people survive. The whole key is to detect early. If we really want to win the war against cancer, it is probably not going to be with an advanced drug. It is probably going to be with a diagnostic. We are part of the solution because we're enabling that testing right in the privacy of your own home. And I think that we're changing the way that people think about it. To date, we've tested more than 4 million people. And our goal is just not to stop until we get all Americans screened.
We're at a moment of crisis in our community right now. In previous times, we may have looked to corporate and business leaders to come together and help lead. Now, many of our large companies are owned by out-of-town entities. The new age businesses in Madison are American Family, Exact Sciences, and Epic. See your role and the role of others mentioned to devote time to provide leadership for our community at this point in time to bring healing, racial justice, and economic growth.
I think it's incredibly important that our companies are really active in our communities. I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and it was a GM town. But the leaders of General Motors lived in Detroit, not Flint. And there wasn't a strong connection, at least when I was young, kind of watching this from afar. It was rare, almost never did you see leadership from General Motors really active in the community. And one of the things that we're proud of is that, and we're following in the footsteps of many other companies like CUNA Mutual Group and AmFam and Zimbrick, and that list goes on of people who are deeply committed in this community. We as a company happen to partner with United Way. And last year, about 80% of our employees gave to the United Way and more when you count the amount of time that people gave. This is one avenue that we have of getting involved in the community to specifically affect the disparities that exist in our society. Another thing that we do, and I think every employer that's listening in today does as well, we provide jobs in this community, good paying jobs that we know have a positive impact. It comes with a really good health plan. It comes with benefits, including every employee at Exact Sciences is a part owner of Exact Sciences because they get annual equity grants. And these are the things that sometimes don't get talked about when we're trying to solve the problems of a lack of equity in our society. It has to start with employment and jobs that people take pride in. And I know so many business owners in this community that are focused on this. I don't think enough people are getting credit for it. And I think COVID exacerbates the problem because so many people are losing their jobs and so many people now have kids at home, making it harder to figure out employment. And so the people who are listening in today and are part of the vibrant Madison community have a role to play in solving some, deep problems that we have in our society. And I, for one, believe that they're solvable. So I'm proud of the entire team, and I'm proud of the Madison business community for the role that it plays in trying to solve these seemingly difficult problems. And I think it wouldn't be right to get off this topic without addressing what is going on in Kenosha. It's a terrible situation, and it is not solved by violence. Protesting is something that has a long American tradition, and we have seen it, and many times it provides an avenue for discourse and change. And violence just cannot be a part of positive change. It never is. So hopefully the Madison business community can continue to fight through all of the problems we see from COVID and the problems that we're seeing from attacks on the business owners that are working so hard to provide jobs in this community.
Cologuard has had an incredible impact on diagnostic testing in the U.S. How does Exact Sciences view the opportunity to improve CRC screening on a global basis?
Well, we have a team right now that's working on a rest of the world version of Cologuard. One of the challenges with Cologuard around the rest of the world is the willingness to pay enough to justify cost of goods for Cologuard is about $130, and half of that is in the collection kit and shipping and receiving of the collection kit. So we're innovating a much smaller test that you could just collect a very small sample and ship it through the mail, which would probably work better, potentially in the US as well, but certainly outside the US, where we really need to figure out a lower cost of goods approach to colon cancer screening. We're committed to this. We are the leaders in terms of the technology that goes inside a colon cancer screening test. The other thing that we are working on is a blood-based test, which also may be offered at a lower price point and also potentially easier to distribute globally. So those are the two approaches. Our genomic health business that we acquired last year has 100 people outside of the US. We offer Oncotype DX, the breast cancer test, directly in 8 countries, in total through distributors in 99 countries around the world. And so we have the ability to bring additional tests to people around the world through this incredible international team.
I've heard many people who think that Cologuard is a replacement for colonoscopy. I know that's not true, but can you clarify? Also, can only certain people get tested, and can they only receive the test through their doctors?
So this is one of the points that I think is little understood by most people, and that is, if you take a look at the main guideline group, the United States Preventive Services Task Force, they look at an array of colon cancer screening tests, including colonoscopy and Cologuard. And what they say is there is no one preferred test over the other. So although you may perceive that colonoscopy is a gold standard, it is not a gold standard as defined by the guideline groups. What they do is they look at benefits versus harms, and they count harms by the harms that colonoscopy sometimes, infrequently, but sometimes cause the patient. And obviously, if you screen a whole population with colonoscopy, most of those people don't have the vast majority, 95%, don't have a precancerous polyp and don't have cancer. So for that 95%, you're doing an expensive, or invasive procedure. There isn't one best approach. The key thing that USPSTF says is talk to your doctor and get the test that is right for you. And the best test is the test that actually gets done, because the enemy is not screening at all. And I have somebody who's close to me that was recently diagnosed with colon cancer and hadn't been screened. This is the problem that we're trying to solve. So if you get screened with Cologuard, the guidelines recommend every 3 years. We think there's a benefit. That's what I do. I believe in Cologuard so much. I have not had a colonoscopy. I've had a Cologuard test every 3 years per the guidelines. And fortunately, that has come back negative. So really, the key thing is to get screened and to have a conversation with your doctor about what's best for you. If you do have a first-degree relative or multiple second-degree relatives that have had colon cancer, then colonoscopy is the right test, because and the guidelines recommend every 3 to 5 years, depending on the extent of that family history. So talk to your doctor, and whatever you do, please get screened.
Are you concerned that the COVID treatments and vaccines we're developing are being advanced too quickly, perhaps sacrificing safety in our haste due to political considerations?
Well, we can't advance these programs fast enough, and I think one of the things I'm really proud of is to be a part of the biotechnology community, which biotechnology may be the last industry at which America is the unquestioned leader globally. And they're all together globally about 140 programs. I know FluGen has a program. FluGen is a Madison-based company. And there are going to be first generation vaccines and second generation vaccines and even third generation vaccines. We can't move fast enough because we have to get America fully back to work, and we need to beat this. And the way to beat a virus is with a vaccine. Mingling by politicians into the FDA review process is not good. That is not good for anybody because ultimately it will lead to a lack of trust, and trust is absolutely critical. But from everything that I have seen, these vaccine programs, whether it's Pfizer or AstraZeneca or Moderna, they are being conducted in a thoughtful way. And if there's any way you can get involved in a clinical trial, you should consider it because it's really a service to our country and to our global society.
How is the direct-to-consumer trend changing your business compared to traditional physician channels? How do you see that changing in the long term?
What we have seen since the onset of COVID is a dramatic increase in telemedicine. I believe telemedicine is going to have a huge impact on prevention and the early detection of cancer over the next decade and beyond. What we have seen is that telemedicine is a very effective way to get to the people who need to have a conversation with doctors. And one of the things about Americans is we go see our primary care physician a lot less than other Western countries. And we need to address this because prevention is key. One of the biggest killers in America is high blood pressure. And it's really easy to diagnose, and it's very inexpensive to treat. And when people aren't getting tested and they are not getting their blood pressure checked frequently enough, we have problems. So everything that we can do remotely, whether it is reminding somebody that it's time for a colon cancer screening or cervical cancer screening or mammogram, we have to do. And Epic is leading the charge here. You know, Judy Faulkner has done such amazing work to help look at global health, and the whole team at Epic. I'll give you one example. Judy agreed to have Exact Sciences move onto the Epic platform. And not only did she do that, in a conversation that I had with her articulating the need for electronic ordering of screening tests, because docs who order electronically screen twice as many people versus those that have to fill out a piece of paper. And she sprung into action and got the Epic team to include the ability to order Cologuard or other tests through Epic directly. So every primary care doc that is on Epic will soon have the ability to click a button to be able to order a screening test. And that will dramatically change the number of people screened. And as I said to the Epic team, well, so now you are going to play a role in helping to win the fight against, to eradicate colon cancer in this country. That's one example of what is going on in this community, and that people should really be proud of the work that Epic has done and continues to do.
Do you still get resistance from the medical community for at-home testing in terms of its reliability, for instance? How do you work with doctors to make them comfortable with recommending a test like Cologuard for their patients?
Yeah, you know, people don't like to change, and physicians are people too. And so, like all consumers of new technology, it takes a while to educate them. And what do? We lay out the results of our 10,000 patient clinical trial, a separate clinical trial with about 1,000 patients, showing that Cologuard detects detects 92% of colon cancer and 42% of precancerous polyps. And then the modeling work as published by USPSTF, which shows that over time, here is the impact on lives if you screen a whole population. And it's a math exercise. Getting people screened on a regular basis leads to earlier detection and fewer deaths. That is, we educate physicians, and it takes that type of engagement. Well, there are 350,000 primary care physicians in the U.S., and there's a multiple of that if you include physician assistants and nurses. And so it's an enormous effort. Our partner Pfizer has an enormous team that helps us with that, and we're just going to keep at it. You know, we've gone from no people tested with Cologuard to over 4 million people tested in the last 6 years. Since Cologuard was born in August of 2014, we've celebrated our 6th birthday, and we're just going to keep at it. At-home testing is so critical because, again, 50% of people just simply won't go in and get a colonoscopy.
Do you anticipate a home COVID-19 test becoming available soon?
Yes, through a company called Everlywell, which is an at-home testing company. We have a partnership that you can get our COVID test through Everlywell. And they have a collection device that has been approved on an emergency basis. I think that the correct term is authorized on an emergency basis by FDA to allow for at-home testing. We think this is a really important part. There's not enough testing that is going on in the country, and the testing is coming down. I saw recently that the CDC said that you shouldn't get a test just because you've been exposed to the virus. I don't understand that. I don't agree with it. What we have seen, and it's really interesting here at Exact Sciences, where we have about 1,500 people around the country that continue to come into our labs to deliver results for our customers. And they are tested on a regular basis. And there is significant amounts of social distancing and, of course, masks being required in the workplace. And so far, out of 15,000 tests of our own population, that's about 10 tests per person, we have seen no spread within our work environment. That says that social distancing, wearing of masks, and frequent testing really works. And we want to be able to continue that. And we, as a society, we should be testing more than we are. I just saw a report that nationally we ran about 650,000 tests in this country, not Exact Sciences, but cumulatively yesterday. That number should probably be 4 million. Abbott got a rapid antigen test approved yesterday, which could play a role in getting more people tested, because that's a 5-minute test. Maybe not as accurate as a PCR test, but you can do it more frequently. So testing is important. We're proud of the fact that we have provided about 60% of the test results in the state of Wisconsin. Maybe is proud of anything that we've ever done at Exact Sciences, and we want to be able to continue to play a positive role here.
How is Exact Sciences approaching return to work planning related to COVID?
As I said, we have 1,500 people who are working, and those are in our 3 main labs here in Madison, Redwood City, California, and Phoenix, Arizona. And then our team that are in offices have the option to work from home. Most people are working from home, the vast majority. Some people come into the office and we have protocols in place and testing available to make sure that they're safe. We don't intend to ask people to come back to work until we're through this and safe. That's the key thing. And we don't know when that will be. Is that going to be in January? Is that going to be in July of next year? We don't expect it's going to be this year. So safety is the key thing, and we're finding out that being able to work from home is not ideal. It's doable though, and for some people, a lot of people really prefer to work from home. So I'm becoming more of a convert to remote participation in our team, and hopefully we'll figure out a way to continue that.
You've invested a great deal in the new facilities here in Madison. Do you think the Midwest can be a biohealth hub?
I think that the Midwest is a biotech hub. Madison has played a role for years, really since Bill Linton started Promega over 30 years ago, with Epic's leadership here, although not biotech, certainly the leader in the health space. So just in Madison, between Epic and Exact and Promega, it's a big piece of our economy here, and I think that will continue to grow over time. You see the HealthX Fund run by Mark Bakken, which is investing in companies throughout the region. We do need more venture capital, and so bringing more venture capital to the community is critical. Carrie Tomey is working on a fund of funds to attract about 150 million of venture capital to the region. Michigan has multiple venture capital funds focused on healthcare. Illinois does. Indiana does. Wisconsin we need to get the job done on that front.
I see that you are advertising many positions. How many jobs do you plan to add to Madison in the next year?
We have 500 current positions right now, and so probably at least 500 open positions. That's across the country. We're at about 4,500 employees, so we'll probably grow from about 4,500 to over 5,000 by the end of this year. And it really just depends on our continued growth. I suspect that over time, Exact Sciences will have over 10,000 employees, and that's one of the things that's probably the most inspiring is the incredible work that our human resources team has done and our leadership team has done is to attract great people, pay them well, and then to maintain and even grow the culture of innovation and teamwork and quality and accountability that we have built at Exact Sciences. We have seen during this COVID crisis, our employee engagement actually, in those scores, we regularly use the Gallup survey to measure that, go up. And that's something that we're proud of. That's not accidental. It's because of the incredible people that work at Exact Sciences around the country and around the globe.
Thank you for your time for today's Q&A, Kevin.
Thanks in business, and thanks to the Madison business community. The work you do is amazing.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's ICONS presentation as much as I did. I want to thank Kevin Conroy for working so well with us on this virtual ICONS experience and agreeing to speak here this morning to the Madison business community. So much great information about all of the innovative and truly inspiring things that are happening right here in this region at Exact Sciences. I also want to extend our sincerest appreciation to the sponsors of this year's ICONS program. Our presenting sponsor, Wps Health Solutions, as well as our premier sponsors, Action Coach, Baker Tilly, and the Madison Concourse Hotel. Thank you all for your flexibility and willingness to work with us here as we're forced to adapt a bit in 2020 to this virtual format. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in here this morning and attending this virtual installment of the Icons in Business series and making this one of the most attended Icons events we've had now in the 10 plus years of putting on this great program. We really appreciate it. We hope that you all stay healthy and well during this time and be on the lookout for additional Icons events coming to you in this format very soon. Thanks and have a wonderful day.